we have Professor Dr. Yengchung Victor Chen. He's a distinguished professor at the Institute of International Management at the National Cheng Kung University. And yesterday, Victor, I just learned that NCKU is among the top 200 universities in the world. Congratulations. He will speak about the current topic, digital trust, the privacy concerns in using intelligent virtual assistants. Victor, are you ready to speak? The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
This is afternoon now here.
Yeah.
老师你好。
Yeah. How are you?
Hi. Oh, in Taiwan, it's ni hao.
Ni hao, yes. Yeah.
Victor Chen has a lot of friends in this conference. When I announced that Victor is speaking, very honestly, a lot of people said, oh my God, I love to see this guy again. It looks like around the world, you have a lot of friends. And actually, I remember when I visited Tainan, you were sitting down together with me before I did this conference and the research for 7 hours. Thank you so much. This was great advice. You have a lot of knowledge, and it was really important to me.
Are you saying I'm too talkative?
You're very, very good host. Yeah, I remember we had this tea with the bubbles inside.
Yeah, bubble tea. I think good night to everyone. This is my topic. I'm going to talk about the privacy concerns in using intelligent virtual assistants. And I'm Victor Chen. I'm now in Tainan, Taiwan. For those who don't know where NCKU is in the Tainan. It's the south of the Taiwan. Is an ancient city, and is a city famous for food. So if you have any want to come to Taiwan, let me know and come to Tainan. I'll be very willing to host you around. This topic I'm going to speak is a published paper. It's already published in the International Journal of Human-Computer Interactions. And I'm the second author here. The first one was my PhD student. Now he's a professor in Vietnam. And the third one here is the master student. And the fourth one, Erik. Erik is also here. Erik used to be my PhD student. Now, congratulations to him that he's already made to the full professor. He's the whole institute's pride. And Erik probably can contribute something, to supplement what I say here. So the virtual assistants, for you guys who probably know about Amazon Alexa, the Microsoft Cortana, the Apple Siri, Google Assistant, or Samsung Bixby. These are the 5 major IVAs, probably more, but I think when we wrote the paper, these are the 5 common popular IVAs we are talking about. So it's a software agent, so especially widely used in mobile devices like a Siri, like a Google Assistant, like a Samsung Bixby. It's capable of a lot of autonomous actions. So basically, it serves more like a software robot. So you can tell this robot to do a lot of things on behalf of you. So that will reduce the user's loading and there's an increasing use of the mobile devices because more and more of us are using the smartphone. And we can expect the more and more IoT, Internet of Things devices probably will push the more use of this IVA. The expected market size would be $17.72 billion by 2023. And the driving force for this software agent is the AI. So as the AI is becoming more and more sophisticated, So you can expect that the intelligent virtual assistant will become more and more powerful. Another thing is I've been thinking about, is it possible going to be applied, we use the IVA in this pandemic situation, because Taiwan has been asking the citizens to use the smartphones to abide by the pandemic rules. But so far we didn't use the IVA, but it could be, but I think the reason we didn't use the IVA because it's not very widely spread use yet. I hope there's no next wave or next pandemic, but if there's a next one come, probably when the IVA is more widely accepted, probably we'll use the IVA. And I just before I came to this conference, I just checked the number Taiwan has. We had about 16,000 people affected from last year, and then about 800 some people dead. In comparison to some other countries, I think probably is not that serious, but is also a big situation in our country. And we hope we can use the technology better to prevent and control the pandemics to continue. Okay, so there are certain concerns about the using of the IVAs because the IVAs is software, right? It is extensively, continuously collecting data, right, of users. So those who use the smartphone especially. So this comes with the privacy concerns, even the security concerns. But we don't talk about the security concerns here because in terms of doing the research, we want to have a focus. Security concerns would be because the software probably already collect a lot of data. So what if we just lost the cell phone, right? So the data stored could be endangered, right? Or the software constantly sending back to the headquarters, right? What if the headquarters also have the data leakage, right? So the security concerns never go away. And because we tend to ask the IVAs to do some daily routine jobs for us, right? So they will know our daily routine schedules and our personal information. For example, if we ask the Siri to do online shopping for us, we probably have to tell them our credit card numbers, right, and ID numbers and so on, right? So those kind of personal informations probably already stored and could be in danger. But on the other hand, the human-like, right, that's the so-called anthropomorphism, right, voice and conversations make users more dependent on it, because that's a lot of the programmers and IT providers would like to push this technology more friendly, more spreadly used, and so we think this could be a conflicting point, right, when the technical people try to make the robot more user-friendly, more like our friend, but at the same time, what is the privacy issues? So this is the purpose of this research, right? Because in nowadays digital information exchange is inevitable, right? So the adoption of the IVA becomes an issue. So the anthropomorphism, a lot of the articles we cite are from the marketing. So these articles, these names, actually you can see mostly from the marketing field. And for brand, a lot of brands actually will try to make the customers to easily think about the brand as more like a human-like, brand, right? And Gao et al. In 2017 defined anthropomorphism as autonomy, social capability, reactivity, and proactivity. Right? However, the influence of the anthropomorphism on privacy issues have not been investigated. So we think this could be some selling point. So we have the two research questions. The first one is, how do people respond to IVAs when they are anthropomorphized or versus the objectified along different levels of information sensitivity? That's the first question. The second question we ask is, will people have greater or fewer privacy concerns when they interact with the servant versus partner IVA? Right. So based on the phenomena we just described and the research question, we think the communication privacy management theory could be a good theory we could base on to understand this phenomena. What is PMT? CPMT? People manage their privacy by closing or opening the boundary dividing private and public information. So once the private information is shared, the individual privacy boundary is changed into collectively owned privacy boundary that is controlled by owners and co-owners of the disclosed information. And the boundary linkage can be strong or weak depending on the individual's perspective, willingness to share, and the readiness to learn. So the greater the privacy boundary is expanded, the boundary will become more permeable. This is basically what the CPMT says. One example is when we use the Facebook, we accept Facebook friend requests. This action will make it equals to people's decision to expand their boundary linkages, because the relevant information becomes visible and accessible to the network of the Facebook friends. So if I add Erik become my friend, and then he will know a lot of my information and relevant information about my network friends. Say if I don't want Erik to be knowing other of my friends, then I have no choice, because this is our kind of our agreement. We expand the privacy linkage, boundary linkage, and we found that almost 10 years ago, CPMT, already being mentioned, is appropriate in the context of human-like products and services. The CPMT theory is quite young compared to most other theories. It came out in 2002. The first article I used, the CPMT as a founded theory, was on the social networking site. And this one probably the second one. So, but we found that this is still probably having some selling point, because we are not focusing on the products or services, we are focusing on the technologies. And the information sensitivity is highly associated with the user privacy concerns. In IVA, certain sensitive information, like credit card number, personal social media, ID number, email, location, is usually required for performing tasks required, which would trigger some privacy concerns. So here comes our hypothesis one. When an IVA requests information, higher levels of information sensitivity will lead to higher levels of privacy concerns. So that's the hypothesis one. In marketing literatures, human-like products are much emphasized. And Goltz and Keisler noted that friendly, sociable, and extroverted robots received more favorable perceptions. And another research found that an anthropomorphized assistant providing useful instructions for every situation inside software programs improve users' ability to learn the software. So actually, now in IVA, there are a lot of the software nowadays we implement actually having this anthropomorphized features, and people like it, right? Because that would make us to learn the software faster, easier. So utilizing the anthropomorphism also generates better social bonds, which in turn could improve the perceived helpfulness of the humanized product. So for example, toy makers would try to connect the children and toys with some human-like features. So with some human-like features, like with the toys having the eyes, the ears on some dolls, or some voice in some some chip that can make some voices to mimic some movie stars in the toys. So that's the utilizing the anthropomorphism. And that's at all, and the colleagues pointing out the feminine or masculine voices added to electronic device tend to have a different perceptions. So we have known the anthropomorphism, right? In terms of the different gender voices, actually could have some different results. And Newman and Hu and Huang found that the personalization efforts are critical in the design and building of intelligent agent and systems. So this is exactly the focus nowadays. So users' willingness to disclose their personal information is influenced in the context where personal information is being exchanged and used on the function of the interaction taking place. So this is why we said the boundary, the boundary linkage. So the context and the function of the interaction is based on the degree of the anthropomorphism taking place. So IVA can be perceived as a human when people sharing information with it, and hence new privacy boundaries formed based on CPMT. But IVA is, after all, different from the actual person, and people do not know it. The IVA will follow the new mutual privacy rules. So here comes our second hypothesis. When IVAs request information, user privacy concerns will be greater with an anthropomorphized IVAs than they will be with an objectified IVA. So anthropomorphized IVAs can take a variety of roles. So that's another further look when we look at the anthropomorphism. The two roles, the common two roles are the servant or the partner. Dalton and the colleagues found that people would prefer an assistant robot over a servant robot to perform daily tasks around the household. So notice that this is a kind of the simple, daily household work. People prefer assistant than a servant. However, nowadays users may respond to more favorable to servant IVAs and may express a greater degree of uncertainty toward partner IVA, because IVAs are more technologically advanced and can carry out more complex functions. So as the technology develops, as the IVAs the robot can do more sophisticated things, we actually prefer the servant IVAs. So users' privacy concerns involving IVAs will vary according to their perceptions of IVA roles, which imply that the responsibilities assigned to a technology can influence user perceptions of it being a partner or a servant. According to the CPMT, when a user shares information with an IVA, a boundary linkage is formed, and that will be strong or weak depending on how the information was shared. So when the information is highly sensitive, users may respond more favorably to the servant IVA because the boundary linkage between servant and its boss is strong in terms of ownership of its sensitive information. When the information sensitive is low, the user easily opens up the boundary to a partner IVA because it is hoped that the partner IVA will be better able to collaborate with the users to achieve the goal. So here comes our hypothesis 3. When an IVA requests highly sensitive information, user privacy concerns will be greater with the partner IVA compared to a servant IVA. Information privacy is categorized as a user's desire to control his or her own personal information, with an emphasis on the user's rights to decide and control the information and how it is delivered to others. Another research argued that users do not have sufficient information to make informed decision on sensitive matters, but they prefer to disclose private information in exchange for shorter term benefit. Because nowadays information is too much overwhelmed. Right? Actually, most users do not have the way to really understand what kind of information. So the quick way is to, in terms of the whether they can in exchange for short-term benefit. So this study argues that because IVAs need some personal information to operate and perform properly, so this will result in turn some degrees of privacy concerns and therefore reduce willingness to provide personal information. So hypothesis 4, when an IVA requests information, users' privacy concerns have a negative effect on their willingness to disclose information. So, so we have the total of 4 hypotheses, and based on the 4 hypotheses, we try to find the answer to test the hypothesis. And we decided to have 2 studies, and each one is experimental design research. For study 1, we have 2 by 2. So we have information sensitivity high and low versus the anthropomorphized versus the objectified, 2 by 2. Each variable is 2 level. So we have 4 scenarios. And study 1 is designed to answer the hypothesis 1, 2, and 4. So this is our experimental design for study 1. So high, low, right? Anthropomorphism. High means anthropomorphism. Low means objectified. And information sensitivity, high, low. Right? So we have 4. So we have between group main effects. So we want to test the 2 main effects, the anthropomorphism and the information sensitivity. And the 4 scenarios are listed here. So this is how we try to define each and every scenario. And demographics, we collected, I think, almost probably more than 190, but we ended up choosing 149 from Europe and USA, and these are the demographics of the study 1 participant. So you can see that the result is, as we expected, the high-low information sensitivity. Okay, when the anthropomorphism is from the low, which is objectified, to the high anthropomorphized. So we have a different impact, privacy concerns based on the different levels of information sensitivity. So there's a big effect there because it is not parallel. The difference becomes bigger. And the result is here. We have the ANTH, which is the anthropomorphism, which is significant, 15.399 F. And the other one, information sensitivity, also significant. So the two main effects are significant, and luckily, the interaction effect is not significant. If the interaction effect is significant, then that could overthrow the results of the two main effects. So we were pretty lucky, I think. And for the next hypothesis, the hypothesis 4, we do see the hypothesis privacy concerns to the dependent variable willingness to disclose is negative. So the higher privacy concern, the lower willingness to disclose. The study 2 is another 2 by 2. So we want to look at the role of the anthropomorphism. So servant or partner, okay, versus sensitivity, information sensitivity. We recruited 147 responded, in study 2, but only 139 from USA was selected. It's also a 4 scenario. So like this. So these are the 4 scenarios. So we try to design a replica Google Assistant to mimic each and every four scenarios. Notice the 4 scenarios here are different from the study 1. So we have a total of 8 different scenarios and replicas of the Google Assistant to do the research. And this is the result. This is the result. So this is a serve or partner. This one is significant. Sorry, it's not significant. The IS is significant. And then we look at the serve partner here. This is significant. So that means we have the interaction effect. So that means the partner and the servant, they are the 2 lines are crossed. This is what we call the ordinal interaction. Okay, if we have 2 kind of lines, and then we have to extend the dotted lines and become crossed, then we call it a disordinal. This one is ordinal. So that means we need to have some more explanations to explain this interaction effect. So for the hypothesis 4, the same, privacy concern is negatively to the willingness to disclose. So hypothesis 4 in study 2 still hold. And here, we see that the demographic variable frequency of using an IVA actually is also significant. So that's something we have to be careful. All right, the conclusion is the fear that the personal information will be exploited and utilized by a tool that is very familiar to them outweighs the benefit of the familiarity building mechanism, the human-like, that the most technical people try to achieve. So the anthropomorphism brings to the development of the IVA. We have to be careful about this concern, privacy concerns. So the research question 1, also understood and with more detailed reasons. The research shows the case of being asked highly sensitive information users felt fewer privacy concerns toward the servant than the partner. So not just the IVAs people have the anthropomorphism, right? But also in terms of the servant or partner, we tend to prefer the servant than the partner. And based on the CPMT, people will feel safer when communicating with others within their defined boundaries and perceive servant who's supposed to work for and are controlled by that person are subject to that boundary limitation. So research question 2, actually, the CPMT already can answer. But only we see that the frequency of using IVA actually is influential. So that kind of suggests us there's a new future research direction we can extend. So the conclusion, CPMT is extended as well as anthropomorphism are provided to examine user behavior in the context of IVA and the IVA development. This research enriches the discourse on anthropomorphism by providing empirical support. And anthropomorphism can be applied in non-marketing fields, in this case, technological context. In terms of the degree of anthropomorphism, anthropomorphizing and opposed to the objectifying IVA, so which is in line with the CPMT theory. And this study also contributes to privacy concerns research that new technologies and new contexts in the MIS field continue to challenge what is presently a norm. So for the managerial contributions, IVA developers should know how to determine an optimum compromise between improving anthropomorphizing IVAs and the scope and scales of their tasks and functions in the future design. We didn't go to the optimal, solution kind of research. We could, because this already suggests another research direction. Where's the optimal solution when we consider the compromise of the anthropomorphism and the scale and the scope, and probably along with some other variables if we want to set it as a constant or not. For higher information sensitivity contexts, IVAs are too anthropomorphized and may be perceived to be more intrusive, because of the greater information requirements and the greater need for more personalization, hence resulting in the increased privacy concerns. So basically, we try to say that we don't, programmers try not to make it too much human-like. You just make it worse, if you do a good job on anthropomorphizing. So how much anthropomorphized IVAs are to be designed is critical. So we just give a rough answer here. How much is too much? What is the threshold value there? So too personalized would blur the lines between the human user and the anthropomorphized IVAs and will be detrimental to the privacy concerns. This is at least what we know. So the limitations, we only focus on the privacy concerns. We didn't take the trust because if the people already don't trust the IVAs, and then probably there's no further things we can consider. Some people don't trust the technologies, and so there's no further issues that we can study out. And experimental studies, we only use some smaller sample size. Study 1, study 2 use only a couple hundred users, so probably it's not good enough. And it didn't take into account of the prior experience of using smartphone among the participants. So the previous experience of using the IVAs probably would be introduced because we didn't exclude them out. And so as we can see, the frequency of using IVA is significant in study 2. So another thing I think for this pandemic era, if the government plans to use IVAs to remind people to enforce pandemic rules, the details health-related information is more subtle and need more well-rounded thoughts to be integrated in addition to the technology implementations.
Thank you very much, Professor Chen, for your presentation. A great project. I see it's supported by Erik Capistrano, who is with us today as well, and other young researchers. Maybe you can switch off the presentation so we have bigger pictures. I know you support a lot of young researchers, and it's really great to see that you are supporting these people, and you go into very, how should I say, technologies that are highly sophisticated and new for the young generation. And one thing that touched me in particular is you mentioned that human interactions will be integrated into toys. So does that mean the companies will start collecting data from children playing with toys?
I think that's possible, but so far the example I mentioned actually was from the reference a long time ago, and that was more like I think back to that time that was more like you know, kind of some traditional physical object like adding the eyes, the ears, you know, making the object become more like human-like. Not really about embedded some data collection agent, but it could be because nowadays the toys are with the chip inside and can make sound. Right?
Okay.
And the devices with the small text could be embedded, like those IoT bugs could be if they want, they could be.
This is really amazing. Erik, maybe you want to shed some light on your research paper, and you may see Joeffrey Calimag here below in the picture from my side. He is a Filipino in Korea, so I think he knows a lot about these gadgets. I visited him in Korea together with Professor Dr. Gundo, and we were in a research center. Joeffrey, what research center was that again?
Sorry, I did not hear that. You know, my phone is very busy and then it's interrupting your signal. So which research center are you referring to?
We were in a research center together with 3D and everything, and I think they had this.
Oh yeah, in Daejeon City. Yeah, artificial intelligence.
Yes.
Yeah, more on that kind of stuff. Robotics as well. Yeah.
Yes, robotics. Erik, have you been to Korea yet?
I've been to Korea several times.
Several
Professor
times.
knows. Professor, he's already laughing.
He likes the what is the girls group?
Oh, do you have to tell it here? Like, do you want to mention it here?
K-pop.
Chong Malyo.
So where's Rupam? Rupam is our next speaker. Here he is. Hello, Rupam. So now we have Korea, we have Taiwan, Philippines, we have Malaysia. What an excellent start of this conference this morning. Victor, it's such a great pleasure to have you with us. It's amazing. Wherever I go, I mention your name, the people know you. I know you gave speeches around the world. I know that Victor Chen is speaking in Malaysia sometimes, so I don't know whether you visited Taylor University yet. Professor Dr. Rupam is from Taylor University, and maybe we can connect you to some more people in Korea, Philippines, and in Malaysia.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, Professor Rupam Konar, which university you are from?
I'm from Taylor's University.
Yes, in Kuala Lumpur?
Yes, it is near to Kuala Lumpur, yeah.
I visited UKM?
UKM, yes.
UKS?
Yeah, UKM is actually a public university.
Yeah, and also the UKS Science?
USM, I believe.
USM, yeah, USM.
Yeah.
University
Science Malaysia.
Yeah.
You see,
You are
Victor is
Malaya.
pretty much around, yeah. So next time you please stop by at the Taylor University, and maybe Victor, maybe we can meet there together. I've been to Kuala Lumpur as well, and I was standing on the Petronas Towers, but also on the television tower, and they have this glass bridge. And I did not know how frightful this is. My God.
Well, Professor Victor used to be the director of the Office of the International Affairs in NCKU. That's why he got to travel around a lot. Yeah, he was the director when he recruited me.
And he did well. He did well. My God.
Yeah, so you cannot fail, you know, Erik. You have to be always successful.
I
so that I can talk about.
I know he's working very hard. Last time I visited Erik, I had 3 minutes with him, and there were 5 people in this room. Everybody wanted something from him, and he was managing.
Yeah, I was OIC department chair at that time.
I'm also looking forward to Joeffrey Calimag's presentation later on. I would consider him a professor star. My God, every time I go on Facebook, he's on national television.
Oh yeah.
Speaking at conferences. My God, Joeffrey, how do you do that?
I think that's an I would say, estimation of what you see on Facebook. This is digital trust, so whatever you see in Facebook does not really reflect what is actually happening in real life, right?
No, Joeffrey. I googled you, and I have a long list of awards and achievements. And when you speak, I tell you, I will mention that. Yeah.
Okay. Anyhow, so thank you for that. But I think everyone here is more experienced than I am. I didn't really have the plan to be in the academe. I was very active in the business side. So I did a lot of consulting and all that. But with this academic kind of very, what was that, research part, I'm a newbie for this one. That's why I'm really great. I feel great for being part of this research group. And I'm happy that we came up with a paper, a really good paper.
Yes.
And yeah, so at 8, in 2 hours, we will be presenting digital trust and expatriates. So
and please bring all your fans with you from Korea.
Okay. All right. We'll try that.